أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم وفقنا وسائر المشتغلين للعلم والعمل الصالح بحق محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم والعن عدوهم. Imam Ali alayhi salam said, the bane of certainty is doubt. The bane of certainty is doubt. قال الإمام علي عليه السلام: آفة اليقين الشك. آفة اليقين الشك. With Islamic laws, we reach to issue number 855. This is the last issue with the dress of the musalli. For a person who has to pray while lying down, definitely this person is praying in lying down position for a reason. He is absolutely sick, ill, so it is not permissible in Salah to use a blanket or a quilt made of the parts of a wild beast, or as an obligatory precaution, an animal whose meat is haram, or of silk, or if it is mutanajjis, if he wrap it around in such a way that it can be seen as worn. So in this case, this musalli, definitely he is performing his salah from what? From lying position. This musalli is performing his salah from lying position. So it is not permissible for him to wear mutanajjis clothes, or to wear clothes which made of pure silk, or to wear clothes which made of wild animal whose meat is haram to eat. Or at the same time is not allowed for him to wear a blanket. So how we can say he is wearing a blanket? In a case if he wrapped the blanket on himself, that it is clear for the people that he is wearing the blanket. But if he just put it on himself, it doesn't matter. Is this understood? So sometimes we have the blanket on us, just normal case, we are not wearing the blanket. But in another time we have the blanket on us, but we wrapped it our bodies. In such case, we say he is wearing a blanket. So it is not allowed for him to wear a blanket in his salah. Okay, definitely for in this case, if he has another choice, but he is careless, or he is not aware of the ahkam shar'iyya, that he doesn't care about the ahkam shar'iyya. He said, okay, so what if I wrap the blanket on my body? In this case, it is not allowed, since he has another choice. For example, he has a dishdasha, or he has a garment, okay, to wrap it around himself or around his body. But if he only draws it upon himself, the blanket, there will be no harm. As I told you, if he just draws it upon himself, it doesn't matter. There will be no harm, and his salah will not be affected. Definitely he is not wrapped the blanket around him. He just draws it upon himself. Okay, so his salah is not affected, but if he wrapped it around upon himself, his salah will be affected, and it is not allowed for him. As for the mattress, now we speak about what? We speak about the blanket. How about the mattress? mattress يعني الدوشق اللي جوا. As for the mattress, there is no objection at all, except when he wraps a part of it around his body. The same thing to the blanket, the same hukum for the mattress. If he just put the mattress on himself and he prayed within that situation, it doesn't matter. But if he wrap the mattress upon himself, this is not accepted, except when he wraps a part of it around his body. Is not accepted, making it look like wearing. If he does so, then the same rule as that of a quilt will apply. As we said before, for a person who has to pray while lying down, it is not permissible in salah to use a blanket or a quilt made of parts of a wild beast. It is not allowed. Maybe somebody will say, okay, what is the difference if he draws the mattress upon himself or if he wrapped it upon his body? Yeah, this is the hukum shar'i. This is the hukum shar'i, because we don't want him to wear such thing. And when he wraps these things around his body, it seems that he is wearing them. But if he just draws them upon his body, he is not wearing them. Any question? Yes, Sheikh.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaykum
An
assalam.
example for this issue, for a person who is rubbing himself with a blanket, does that mean that he doesn't have any clothes to wear? So he rubs himself.
I explained it when I was explaining the issue. I said, if he has another choice to wear, for example, a cloth or a dijdasha, but what he said, okay, I will wear the blanket as what I will wrap the blanket upon myself. In this case, it is not allowed. He has another choice. Definitely, if he does not have other choice, like whom? Like the person whose body is burnt. Okay? This person, he does not have another choice unless they put a blanket in a small case,
Yes.
or gauge above all his body. This case, it is allowed.
Allowed for, yes.
Or this person, he cannot wear clothes at all, or he doesn't have clothes at all except the blanket. In this case, we accept from him his salah. But in our issue, for a person who has to pray while lying down, it is not permissible in salah to use a blanket or a quilt made of parts of wild beast, or as an obligatory precaution, an animal, or of mutanajjis. In this case, it is not allowed if he has another choice.
Yes.
Is that okay, Sheikh
Yes,
Ahmed?
thank you very much.
You are welcome. Here we have a new topic, which is exceptional cases. Issue number 856. In the following three cases, the prayer offered by a person will be valid. That means the salah will be valid in those coming three cases, even if his body or dress may be mutanajjis, even if his body or dress is what is mutanajjis. So in these three cases, his salah is what? His salah is valid. Number one, if his body or dress is stained with blood discharged from a wound or a sore on his body, this person, his salah is valid when his body or his dress is stained with what? With the blood from whom? From a wound in his body. Okay? So his salah is what? Is valid. For this, my brothers, in the hospitals nowadays, most of the people whom they get injured because of some incidents, all right, so tell them it is allowed to pray with their stained clothes with the blood. It is allowed. Huh? No, not the nurses. The injured person himself. The patient. Okay? Number two, if his body or dress is stained with blood spread over a space lesser than a dirham, which is almost the second case, that this blood is spread around or on his body, but the size of the blood is lesser than the dirham. How much or what is the size of this dirham here? Which is almost equal to the upper joint of the thumb, which is equal to the upper part or the upper joint of the thumb. Like this, exactly like this size. So if this or if his body or dress, not only body or dress, stained with the blood and spread over a space lesser, not the same size, lesser, not the same size, not more, but lesser than the dirham. This is also forgivable. This also permissible in salah. But do not forget that this blood is from his wound. Not from somebody else. Not like, for example, a doctor or a nurse. No, of course not. Case number 3. If he has no alternative but to offer prayer with mutanajjis body or dress. This person, he has blood on his body or on his dress, and he wants to pray because the time of salah will be lapsed. If he doesn't pray now, his salah will be what? Lapsed. It will be qada, and he cannot go to home and change his clothes. So in this case, this is one of the cases. Definitely there are many. For example, a person in a battle, and he does not have what? He does not have extra clothes. So he has to what? He has to pray. It is allowed for him to pray in such mutanajjis body or in such mutanajjis dress with blood. Definitely this is his blood. Alright? So if he has no alternative but to offer prayer with mutanajjis body or dress. Further, there is no situation in which if the dress of one who prays is mutanajjis, the salah will be valid. There is one situation in which if the dress of one who prays is mutanajjis, the salah will be valid. And that is, what is the situation? That is when small clothes like socks, scalp caps, socks or scalp caps, not like my turban, are mutanajjis. Here, rules of these four situations will be explained in details later. So, I'll explain the last part. If the dress of one who prays is mutanajjis, the salah will be valid. And that is when small clothes like socks, scalp caps. What does it mean? Small clothes like socks or scalp caps. Yes, Sheikhna. Yes, Sheikhna. Please. Yes. What do we mean by them? Yes, Sheikh Karrar.
I mean, I can remove them.
Huh?
I can remove them.
And what Sayyid Sistani means, these very good. These small clothes are not covering the private parts. If I remove them, they will not affect to cover my private parts. Is this understood, inshallah? Great. Issue number 857. If the body or the dress of a person wishing to pray, his body or the dress that I wish to pray with is stained with the blood from a wound or a sore, etc., from his body. Okay? He can pray salah with that blood as long as the wound or the sore has not healed up. Since the wound is still not healed up, and this blood is from this wound from his body, and the blood is stained his body, or it stained his dress, or both of them. Since the wound is not healed up, he can pray with such mutanajjis body and mutanajjis dress. And the same applies to pus. You know what's the meaning of pus? القيح, جراحة احنا نسميه. And the same applies to pus, which may flow out with blood. Definitely the pus is not blood. The pus is not blood. So we cannot say that the pus is mutanajjis unless it has blood with it. Unless it comes out with the blood. Yes. No, pus by itself, it is not mutanajjis. Or any medicine which became mutanajjis when applied to the wound or the sore. So sometimes not the body, not the dress, but sometimes the medicine. We use some oil, for example, to put it on the wound, and this oil is mixed with what? With this blood. Now, can we pray with that? Yes, we can. We pray. Here is an issue. Another issue I'd like to explain for you. For example, I have a wound right here in my hand. Everywhere in my body, not only in my hand. All right? Then I put some medicine on it. Sometimes we use some medicine to put it on, ointment, or not ointment. Sometimes we take some pills and we squeeze them, we put them on the wound like powder. You're right. Okay, so they are mixed with the blood and they dried up. Now, can we make wudu or we have to remove this? Absolutely, we can make wudu. Absolutely, we can make wudu. Huh? I said they dried up with blood. This oil, this ointment, these pills, squeezed pills or powder, were mixed with the blood and they dried up on the wound. Okay, now, for example, on my hand, can I move to tayammum? No, of course not. I have to do what? Wudu. I have to do.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum
I'm
salam.
absorbing this idea, but my question is about this is liar about what mixing. This is powder with the blood.
Mhm.
When he's contact with the mixing and mixing with water for wudu, he's this state for this is liar is what is changed for the weight. And what I doing?
Shaykhana, it is dried up.
So
It
he's
is-
right now. He's right, but after the wudu, he's what? His weight. And
It's still,
the state
it
is
is still,
changed.
it is still dried up. After wudu, we just drop water on it.
Okay.
Okay? Because I know what you mean. You mean if this ointment or this blood is still not dried. No, if it is not dried, we just drop water on it until it removes. And we have to stop the bleeding. This is another case. Now, I'm talking about the ointment, the powder, which mixed with blood, and they dried up. Is this understood? Good.
Yes, Sheikhana, please.
Yes, please. Yes, Sheikh.
What he mean is that, for example, a light layer from blood, dried blood, has been dried, okay? But since I put water on it, it will be dissolved.
It wouldn't dissolve. It wouldn't dissolve. Unless it needs long time, not like these seconds.
What about?
I think we have a specialist right here.
What about
Dr. Muhammad? I think he can explain this for you. Okay, give him the mic. That would be so getting benefit for our lesson. Yes, doctor.
Because when we use something on the wound, it's enhance the wound to healing or to make a clot in this position. So it's dried up and we can just rising on this wound. After that, we can make a wudu.
So what was his question or their question is, when we drop water for wudu, this mixture will melt.
No,
It
it's
would
not.
It wouldn't melt. This is what I tried to explain.
Because
to
we
them.
have a platelet in the blood stream. It's make a cloth or
You see.
clot.
Okay, Sheikhna. Yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaykum salam.
What about covering it by plaster?
No, this is something different. We will have it.
Uh-huh.
This is Jabira. We will have it. This
Okay.
is something different. Yes, inshallah. Issue number 858. If blood on the dress or the body of a person who is praying or originates from a small cut or wound which can be healed easily, and which can be washed clean, then his salah is void. Look, if blood on the dress or the body of a person who is praying or originates from a small cut, just like a scratch, khadish, scratch, okay? A small cut or wound which can be healed easily. Definitely the scratch, it heals easily and so fast, because it is what? It is on the upper part of the skin, not deep part of the skin. All right? So, and which can be washed clean, then his salah is void. So what we have to do? We have to wash it and we have to clean the blood, and then we have to make our wudu. Why? Because we can make it clean. It is easy to make it clean. Yes, Sheikh Ahmed.
Of course, there is a condition that should be before the prayer, not during the prayer itself.
Absolutely, yes. We are talking about ablution, Shaykhana.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, welcome. Issue number 859. If any part of the body or the dress which is away from the wound. Yes. For example, the wound is here in this area. If you look to my hand, the wound is here. We are talking about, for example, the area right here, or the area right here, or the area right here. Not the wound itself. Not the wound itself. If any part of the body or the dress which is away from the wound becomes mutanajjis owing to the fluid which oozes out from the wound, because this area becomes mutanajjis because of the fluid or the blood oozes from where? From the wound itself. Is this understood? This is the wound, and the blood gushes out of the wound to where? And spread on this area, which is not wounded. Which is not wounded. All right? So, if any part of the body or the dress which is away from the wound becomes mutanajjis owing to the fluid which oozes out from the wound, it is not permissible to offer a prayer without it. Without what? Sorry, with it. Very good. It is not permissible to offer a prayer with it. What does that mean? I have to make it what? I have to make it clean. I have to make it tahir, because this area is what? Is not joint. It's not wounded. It's not affected. However, yes, Sheikhna. Yes. Okay, just turn on the mic.
السلام عليكم سماحة
عليكم
الشيخ.
السلام ورحمة الله.
The wound in the cause, deep or superficial or any wound?
In this case, I'm talking about any wound. I'm not talking about the wound itself. I'm talking about the adjoint area. The adjoint area, not the wound itself. But I'm talking about this area which is not wounded, or this area which is not wounded. It has what? It has blood.
Yes.
It has blood. Now, shall I clean it before the prayer, or shall I leave it and to continue my salah with this mutanajjis area? Sayyid Sistani, he said, you should clean it because this mutanajjis area is what? Is not wounded.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. However, if a part of the body or dress around the wound becomes mutanajjis, owing to a suppuration, there is no harm in offering a prayer with it. So, in this case, we explain the above part. I think you understand it. Now, the other thing that, for example, you mentioned, Shaykhana, you mentioned the deep cut. So this part is becoming mutanajjis because of what? Because of the suppuration. Because of it is what? Because it is a deep cut, for example. So here in this case, I cannot. If I clean it or if I make it tahir by water, that will affect what? That will affect the cut itself. It will be affected. In this case, it doesn't matter to pray with such blood on this area. Yes, Shakar.
These conditions that you have mentioned previously, is the person has, for example, time in his disposal or not? This is first. And about that area which is connected to the wound, it is we have mentioned before that it should be amount of the coin. Okay, and we should pray with it, for example. What about these that you have mentioned right now?
Shaykhana, first of all, we didn't mention the time. In generally, now, do I need to make this area tahir or not? Okay, why should I make it tahir if it is not affected the cut? Why shouldn't I make it tahir? Because if I make it tahir, it will affect the wound itself, and it will make the sore or the wound. It will make it having long time, has long time to be cured. Okay, for in the first situation, his salah is what is void if he prays with this mutanajjis area, because he can clean it without affecting the wound. In the second situation, his salah will be valid even if he prays with this mutanajjis body or dress, because if he make it tahir, will affect what? Will affect the wound.
So this is for the normal person, or it is different from the one he is in hospital, for example? The one who has made surgery, is this the same for him, or there is another one?
Shaykhana, it is for for all people in the surgery. Does he
but you have said that he can pray with his blood dress or body, and if he has that amount of blood which is more than one coin. Yeah,
yes,
dirham.
Yes, we explain that. Yes, he can pray. And this is for both, even for the surgery. If he can clean it, he should clean it. If he cannot, he cannot.
So if he can remove them, so it will be.
Absolutely, this is for general, Shaykhana. We didn't distinguish between the surgery case or not the surgery case. It is a wound. Even in surgery, it is a wound or not?
Yes, so.
It is a wound. It is a wound. Okay.
And we don't consider about the if he has disposal time or
No.
not.
No.
The most important thing is to remove the najasa as itself.
Yes. If he can, he should remove it. If he cannot, he can pray with it. That's it.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome. You are welcome. It is not permissible to offer, if any part of the body or the dress which is away from the wound becomes mutanajjis owing to the fluid which oozes out from the wound, it is not permissible to offer prayer with it. However, if a part of the body or dress around the wound becomes mutanajjis owing to separation, there is no harm in offering prayer with it. Separation. Okay. والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل